Hi everybody, welcome back to English Digest. We're looking at our TOEIC unit, and my name is Pat.
And I'm Tom, and today we have an article entitled, How to Reduce Employee Turnover. Remember last time we had a conversation between Angela and Robert. Robert is leaving the company for various reasons, and this particular company that he works for, or worked for, had high turnover. So today we're going to be talking about how you might reduce employee turnover at your company.
Yeah, turnover, again, just to remind people, is when employees, a lot of people quit and new people who are hired don't often stay for long. And that means that people's workload increases, they have to do extra jobs, train new people. It's a difficult situation for a company because there's always, you're always talking about who's going to be next to leave and he's left, so I have to do some of his jobs now and so on. It's a real difficulty. Today we're going to look at a few things companies can do to kind of really stop this thing before it starts, which is the best way. Let's have a read of our article and find out what those things are. High staff turnover is a huge problem for any company. When the turnover rate rises and new workers don't stay for long, morale will be low and the negative momentum will be hard to stop. Here are a few things companies can do to prevent this situation from coming to pass. Most experts agree that the most important thing is hiring the right people. There's no point hiring someone who isn't properly qualified just to make up the numbers. In doing that, the new person will probably find it hard to complete their tasks and soon quit as well. It's worth waiting to find the right candidate for the job. It's equally necessary to take care of your current employees, both professionally and personally. In addition to making sure employees receive a competitive salary, it's important to give them the chance to learn new skills. They also need to believe they can develop their careers at the company and have clear paths toward promotion. On the personal side, managers must create a positive work environment with a culture of recognition and praise for achievements. Being flexible about employees' needs is also a must. One example is to allow workers with young children to work from home if necessary. When it comes to high staff turnover, prevention is certainly better than cure. However, when a company finds itself in this predicament, it must remember to look after its greatest asset, its employees.
Okay, it's time now to discuss the contents of today's lesson in detail. First of all, let's talk about the title here, How to Reduce Employee Turnover. Remember, if you reduce something, you just lessen the amount or number of that thing. You don't want to have so much employee turnover. It costs the company money. Now, here's the first paragraph. It says, high staff turnover is a huge problem for any company. I think that is pretty obvious here. If you have a lot of people quitting, you got to hire new people, you got to train them, everybody else has extra work to do, and people aren't so happy, they don't really know each other so well, and they can't work well together. So yes, indeed, that would be a big problem for any company.
Yeah, we look in a bit more detail in the next sentence. When the turnover rate rises, that means when more and more people are quitting every month, and new workers don't stay for long, morale will be low and the negative momentum will be hard to stop. So morale is kind of like everybody's feelings about something. It's how happy they are, how encouraged they are, how much they kind of believe in what's going on and want to work hard. It's kind of like their motivation. So if morale's low, no one's happy, no one feels like working too hard. People are thinking about, okay, maybe I'll quit, maybe I'll look for a new job soon, instead of, okay, what am I working on today? Let's do a good job. And this negative momentum will be hard to stop. So momentum is the kind of force of something that's moving and how much force it generates. So negative momentum is just mean things are getting worse and worse. Negative is kind of bad, it's sad, it's depressed. So negative momentum is just this idea that things are getting worse. It never seems to get any easier, and it's hard to stop. You can't just turn it around like that, okay? We mentioned yesterday like a snowball running down a mountain, picking up speed, turning into an avalanche that destroys whole villages. It's kind of like that, just metaphorically.
Yep, it's negative momentum. People say negative things and somebody else says negative things. And, of course, morale will suffer because of that. There will be low morale in the company. And who wants to work in a place like that? When you go to the office and you hear people complaining all the time, I'd rather go work somewhere else. Well, here are a few things companies can do to prevent this situation from coming to pass. Here the phrase to come to pass is just kind of a fancy way of saying happen. To stop these things from happening, to stop them from coming to pass. And also we have the verb prevent, which in this sentence is being used with the preposition from, to prevent something from happening.
Yep, and when we do that, we use the ing form of the verb, prevent someone from doing, thinking, saying, and so on. So prevent something from coming to pass. So most experts, this is our first thing they can do, most experts agree that the most important thing is hiring the right people. Seems to make sense, right? It's like, okay, we've got a job, we need to hire the right person. Of course, if you've got a turnover problem, sometimes the right person is just the first person, but that's not necessarily a good idea.
Right. Hey, you over there, we need someone here. Come on in. You can start work today. That would be an example of not hiring the right person. You need to hire the right person or someone who is qualified. So in the next sentence here, it says, there's no point hiring someone who isn't properly qualified just to make up the numbers. So there's no point. There's no reason to do this. It's not logical. It doesn't make sense. You should not hire someone who isn't properly qualified. If you're qualified, that means you've had the education or the training or the experience, and you can come in and do the job right away. You don't need to undergo a lot of training.
Yeah, and this phrase, make up the numbers, kind of means like, okay, we need an extra person here because this job needs 6 people. We've only got 5, so as long as we have 6, it doesn't really matter. So make up the numbers. You could also talk about a team sport. Okay, we've got 10 guys. That means we can almost play as a baseball team, but we need one more. So, okay, my friend John can do it. He's not great, but he'll make up the numbers.
He used to watch baseball on TV, so he's good enough. Yeah.
But that's just making up the numbers. That kind of means you're completing the numbers you need, but not necessarily with the right person, just with anybody who can fill that empty spot. So there's no point hiring these people. It doesn't help if all you're doing is bringing in somebody who won't be able to do the job properly.
Yeah, don't bring in a greenhorn. Make sure you hire someone who is qualified, even if it takes a couple of weeks to do that. Now, in doing that, or by doing this, the new person will probably find it hard to complete their tasks and soon quit as well. So yes, a new person comes in, but they don't have any training, they don't have any experience, and they're going to be frustrated. They're going to think their job is difficult. It will be hard or difficult to complete their tasks, to do what they're supposed to do. So they'll say, the heck with it. I'm not going to work here anymore. I'm not happy. Everybody hates me, and I'm not getting paid well enough for this.
Yeah, so it is worth waiting to find the right candidate for the job. So when we talk about advertising a job, the people who apply are the candidates. It's somebody who says, yes, I want this position. Check me out, try me out, interview me. I am a candidate. We also talk about candidates for elections, people who are saying, yes, elect me, choose me, I'm the right person. So it's all of these people who apply for a job. Okay, so it's worth waiting. Don't just choose the first person, choose the right person. And that will help with turnover because if you get the right person, they'll know what to do and they won't immediately think of quitting when the going gets tough.
And maybe all the other employees will actually change their minds when they start thinking of quitting. Hey, this new guy's pretty good, pretty smart. I actually like working for this company now. Now, let's move on now to the next paragraph. It says, it's equally necessary to take care of your current employees, both professionally and personally. So far we've been talking about hiring the new person, but it's also necessary. You also need to do this. You also need to take care of your current employees. You need to value them in both professional and personal ways. Professionally means having to do with the job, okay? Are they being given proper job responsibilities? Is their job too difficult or too easy? Are they receiving proper employment or proper salary, proper payment? And do they have a decent benefits package?
Yeah, whereas personally is obviously a bit more about their own emotions, feelings and stuff. So we'll look at professionally first. The article says, in addition to, or as well as, making sure employees receive a competitive salary, it's important to give them the chance to learn new skills. So a salary is your wages. It is how much you're paid for your job. Sometimes it's known as compensation for a job. And a competitive salary means it's one that is kind of they would get paid by other companies for doing similar work. If you know you can make more money doing the same job for someone else, you're likely to leave. Whereas if you know that, yeah, no matter where I go, this is how much money I get, this is the market price for this job, then they won't just leave for the money. So that's what we mean by a competitive salary. It's competitive and it means that other jobs won't compete for them because they're like, no, this place pays pretty well. I'm okay here.
Yeah,
but
you're valued.
Yeah, they need to learn new skills as well, though, because that makes the job interesting. You're like, hey, I'm not only making money, I'm learning how to use this program, I'm learning how to do this, I'm developing myself, it's interesting, it's a challenge, but it's a good challenge.
Yeah, and you can actually go home and say, yeah, I like my job, I'm going to stay there. Now, they also need to believe they can develop their careers at the company and have clear paths toward promotion. So, and this is basically saying that the job should not be a dead-end job. It needs to be something in which the person feels they can develop their careers, they can learn more, they can get better at what they studied, and their career paths are very well laid out in this company, and they know they have a clear path toward promotion, which means I'm not just going to be in the same position forever. Someday I might be promoted to manager or maybe even vice president, or who knows, someday the president, the CEO, and I'll have a really big salary.
Yeah, that's kind of what we mean by a clear path, like the knowledge that, okay, you know, it's generally accepted if you work here for a couple of years, they might put you in charge of a team, and then if you do well, you know, you might be in charge of several teams, that kind of thing, and they'll allow people to maybe switch departments and learn new things by doing that. So in some companies you have no idea. It seems like there's never a chance, but if you know that if you work hard, do a good job and stay there, you're very likely to get promoted, then that encourages you to stick with a job. Okay, so that's professionally, that's looking after employees professionally. So the article then says, on the personal side, managers must create a positive work environment with a culture of recognition and praise for achievement. So a positive work environment where everybody feels good, where people don't hate coming in the morning. They want to go, hey, how you doing, everybody? You know, what are we up to today? What are we going to do? You know, they feel happy to be there. They can don't mind having a bit of a laugh and a joke as long as they get their work done. That is a positive environment. And one way to do that is a culture of recognition. That's when if somebody does a good job, you say to them, good job. That was really well done. And not just that, you tell other people, you know, you praise people, send out an email, you know, have a quick public announcement. Hey, I want to say, good job, this team, because they got a big contract, or well done, Steve, because he did this thing, something like that. That is recognition for what people have done, their achievements, the things they've accomplished. They're being praised, they're being recognized, so they can kind of feel good about themselves, rather than just, you know, I work hard, my boss never seems to notice.
Right, and yes, you have a culture or a tradition. Everybody likes to be patted on the back, and they like to know that other people know that they've done something good. Maybe they have an Employee of the Month award or something, or some kind of award award ceremony where everybody can applause and say, yeah, this person increased our sales figures twofold over the last month. We're going to give that person an award or recognition for this. And like I just said, increasing sales figures is a kind of achievement, which is something that you actually do successfully. Now, being flexible about employees' needs is also a must. So if you're the boss or a manager, you can't be like a dictator, like that guy in North Korea. What you say, you have to do. You got to be flexible about their needs. You can't be too soft, or they'll walk all over you. But in other words here, you got to be flexible. You can change easily if, say, for example, you got somebody who is sick or something, or their wife is having a baby. You need to recognize that and say, well, go ahead and take the day off and be with your wife.
Yeah, or if people need to go to the hospital, you go, okay, no worries, you just go, don't worry about your work. If you want to take a particular kind of vacation, or you want to go undergo some training, we'll support that. It's just meaning that you don't always follow the same approach. Different people need to be looked after in different ways, and you got to kind of bear that in mind, and employees will appreciate you for it. We give an example here, which is to allow workers with young children to work from home if necessary. I've got a new baby, my wife is looking after him a lot, but maybe I can just stay home 1 or 2 mornings a week, or 1 day a week, or 1 day every couple of weeks, just to help out. That'll help my family with stress, and looking after it, and I'll be happier. And if I'm happier, I'll do a better job.
That's right. Now, it goes on here in the next paragraph. It says, when it comes to high staff turnover, prevention is certainly better than cure. When it comes to, or if we're talking about high staff turnover, where this phrase here comes in handy, prevention is better than cure. You got to stop it before it starts, because if it starts, then you got a big problem. Kind of like global warming. We want to prevent it before it's too late.
Yeah, or a disease where you want to kind of stop people from getting sick rather than just treat them when they are sick. So, stop smoking, get healthier, because it's easier to not get heart disease than it is to cure it once you've got it. However, when a company finds itself in this predicament, this situation, a predicament is a bad situation, really. It's not a good place to be. So if you're in this difficult situation, the company, must remember to look after its greatest asset, its employees. An asset is something of value that you have. It could be a building, it could be your intellectual property, but here we're talking about the staff. They're the people who do the work. They're the most important thing. It's not your product as much, it's the people that make it. Look after them.
That's right. So if you're a boss or an employer, take a look at your employees and realize that, hey, they're valuable, they are an asset. It's worth trying to keep them in the company. Otherwise, it's going to cost you a lot of money to keep hiring new people. Okay, that brings us to the end of our discussion for today. We need to hear from our Chinese teacher now.
Hi everyone, my name is Jenny. 好，我们呢在这个 TOEIC 的文章里，其实前面是一个对话，这个对话谈到的是 high staff turnover problems， 员工的流动率很高，那今天就来看看怎么办 How to reduce employee turnover。 我们知道 reduce 是降低，所以我们怎么降低员工的流动率？现在呢说到这个问题，其实对任何公司都一样。那么如果是这样的话，员工待得不久，士气一定会降低。好，一个公司里面的员工士气是这个字 morale will be low。 好，这样子一来，你知道这有负面的动能，那会难以阻挡。下面就告诉你有什么样的事情，有什么样的方法我们可以来做，然后来防止这样的情况发生。这句话 Here are a few things， 我们知道我们常常这样写一个句子，它当然也是一种倒装句，重点就在后面提的 a few things 是哪些事呢？还有就要注意到 prevent from 这个片语，防止。那 from 后面就是你想要阻止发生的事，在这里 coming to pass 就是事情发生，那我们当然不希望这样的情况会出现，所以才会说 prevent it from coming to pass。 好了，下面呢继续来看 专家一定同意，最重要的一件事就是 hiring the right people， 雇用对的人。好，它下面有一个句型 There's no point hiring someone who isn't properly qualified。 这个 There's no point 意思就是什么事情是没有意义的。好，后面呢会用动名词，所以这里看到的是 hiring 这一件事，雇用不对的人，那有什么意义呢？当然是没意义。如果你是雇用他们为了来充数的话，所以这里有一个 just to make up the numbers， 只为了达到人数要求雇用这个人，那有意义吗？当然没有。那下面呢又要注意同样说过的一个句型哦 IT 当虚受词，这边写到了 The new person will probably find it hard to complete their tasks and soon quit as well。 这个地方的 find it hard， 好 IT 做虚受词，取代的是后面真正的受词 to complete their tasks， 要把工作完成。新人觉得这是很难的，所以很快就会辞职。接下来又是一个重要的句型了，谈到什么事情是值得的，等待是值得的 It's worth waiting。 Worth 这个字啊，其实呢应该可以把它说是一个形容词，然后也可以说它就像介系词一样。当它用在这个句型里表示值得什么，它后面可以直接加名词，但是也可以直接加动名词，所以 it's worth waiting 就是值得等。如果你是讲值得读值得买，那你可以说 The book is worth buying， The book is worth reading。 好，记得哦，直接加 V-I-N-G。 那为了要找到合适的求职者，值得等的哦。现在呢，再看看下面还有一件事是很重要的，就是要照顾现在的员工。好，那除了说你要确保他们得到具有竞争力的薪资，也就是薪水呢跟别人比是 OK 的，那这边呢其实要注意的是 in addition to。 我们知道 in addition to 代表除了什么之外，要加的是名词或者是动名词，因此这里的 make it， 注意一下哦 V-I-N-G。 好，谈到了这么多，那到底还有什么要注意的？他说在个人方面 on the personal side， 经理要创造出一个什么样的环境呢？好，这边说到了是一个 a culture of recognition and praise for achievement。换句话说，能够有正面的，能够表彰赞扬工作成就文化的这样子的环境。那下面这句话也是一样，它的句构上特别留意，因为它用 being flexible about employees' needs is also a must。 这个主词很明显它是一个动名词片语 being， 什么事情是必要的，也就是对员工的需求有弹性，能变通。好，动名词当主词当然是单数，所以你用 is。 接下来呢，还有要告诉你，有时候你讲到弹性，那你就可以容许，假如家里是有小朋友，那必要的时候可以让他在家里工作 if necessary。 注意到这个部分，这是一种省略句型。我们知道 if 其实还蛮常见的，像你说 if possible 要是有可能的话，或是 if need be 要是有需要的话， if yes if no 好等等等。其实这种省略句构呢，只要保留 if 跟它后面最重要的表达出意思来的字就可以了，主词也可以不要，动词也可以不要，这在口语中常有也常见。好了，最后我们来看最后这个句子有一个句型，从 When it comes to high staff turnover, prevention is certainly better than cure。 这句话里面的 When it comes to， 这个 to 是介系词，我们中文把它翻成一提到、一谈到、说到什么事情的时候， 好，介系词，所以你看到接的是 high staff turnover， 这是一个名词片语。OK， 我们今天的说明就到这里结束，下次见。
We'll take a short break now. We'll be right back with some discussion questions. Hi guys, we've got a couple of discussion questions here talking about some of the issues we've raised today. The first one, and we've talked about this a bit, in what ways could a high staff turnover affect a company? Well, of course, with people leaving, you may end up getting deadlines missed, which is bad. You may not have the people there to do the work that needs to be done. So it doesn't just affect how people feel at the job. It may actually affect the output of the company. Things don't get done in time. You miss out on a few contracts and people stop giving you so much business because they know you've got problems. So...
Yeah, every time you have a new contract, you got to introduce a new person, Hey, I thought Lisa was handling that account. Oh, she quit. Now we have Pat taking care of it. And so the new client or the client has to get used to a new person and stuff like that. I was also thinking in terms of teamwork. If people keep having to work with new people, it's harder to trust them, because they're new and you just don't know them very well. You want to be nice and everything, but on the other hand, I just don't know about you, and I'm not sure if I can trust you.
Takes time.
Yeah, it takes time, and it's probably best to keep the same people that you're used to and work with them, unless there's somebody you really hate, okay? Somebody like we mentioned before, the person Jason, who was causing a lot of problems. Maybe if there's someone like that in your company, you don't want to be around that person. And I guess sometimes turnover is good because sometimes it's nice to have fresh faces, but still, I think it's best to trust people, so keep the original people around.
Yeah, we did mention that, people are always going to at some point leave their jobs, move on for personal reasons or professional reasons. So, it's normal that one or two people will leave every now and again, but too much is bad. So our other question is, how else could a company reduce a high staff turnover rate? What other things? We've talked about a few. We've talked about hiring the right people, and we've talked about taking care of these employees. Is there anything else that can be done to kind of stop a turnover rate? Difficult question. We've sort of covered some of the main bases. It would be easy just to say, well, pay them more and people will stay. I have a student who's in that sort of situation. She's being paid very well for her job. So even though the work is hard, she is reluctant to leave that job because the salary and the bonus is so good. So, that may work for some individuals, but it shouldn't be a blanket approach. Just, okay, we'll throw money at the problem. That might solve one or two things. That might keep one or two people, but it's not going to work, and it's going to be an expensive way to solve the problem.
Well, one way I think could help improve the situation is if the management would involve the employees more in decisions. Because I've worked for a lot of companies where the boss or the managers have come up with some way to make money, and you think about it and you realize they just kind of thought of that. They didn't really do any research and stuff. They should let us kind of give our own ideas and come to a decision that would better affect the whole company. They're just the bosses, and they think they know and everything. I think they should value their employees and get their opinions on stuff before they make a really dumb decision.
Yeah, you also want to be more open. You don't want a lot of meetings behind closed doors and whispered secrets and, hey, what's going on? Why is nobody telling us? You've got to be open. You've got to involve the employees. They're at the company too, so you don't want to have too many secret meetings and people not really being sure. Just get it all out there, be open, deal with the problem. Okay, well, those are a few things to think about, a few things you can discuss, maybe think about other ideas of your own. But we are out of time for today. Thank you very much for listening to us for English Digest. I'm Pat.
And I'm Tom.
We'll talk to you again in the very near future. Bye for now.
Bye.